Well, Coach, let's talk about Keondre Dew, a junior college player. I'm curious about the place through the years, bolstering a roster in a class with junior college people. Certainly GP2 has worked out extremely well, but tell us about Keondre Dew and his journey to become a Beaver.
Sure. Well, first off, as part of building your recruiting base and class, you can't just go get players. You've got to look to balance the classes. When we got here, we had no seniors, which meant we had no scholarships for 2015. That's why we kept those in our hip pocket. Well, now if you look, we've got this senior class of 5, a junior class of 2 in Shea and Malcolm, no sophomores, and then the freshmen. So we're trying to juggle and balance these classes so year after year we know that we have scholarships available. So looking at the 5 we have to use for 2016, and no juniors to be, we said, hey, if we can find the right junior college players that fit, it would be great to add some to that class so then in 2018 we have at least 1 or 2 scholarships. Does that make sense? So knowing that, we were looking for maturity and thought at the wing position, and so we started to cast our net in that sort of a pool. And Keandre quickly, his name came to us. We'd seen him play, we knew his history, and then each coach, we kind of try to get all eyes on our recruits so that, we can't ever say that's my guy, or if he comes and it doesn't work out, oh, that was my guy. But more importantly, so that we can all evaluate, because I trust everybody's opinion. The assistants saw him play other than Coach Rupp and I, and liked him. We were looking for an athletic wing with length and size. And obviously weren't going to compromise character. He's a little bit of a different junior college player in that he was a high school qualifier, went to a Division I program. You saw in some of his quotes, he said, that I made some mistakes, and he didn't mean like run-ins with the law. It was his attitude, and I really, really commend him for saying this publicly. And he told us through the recruiting process that he approached going to Tulsa, being a top 100 player. He strolled in there, thinking that he was a little better than he was, that maybe he didn't need to work as hard, that it was going to be handed to him. So he learned some valuable lessons. So it didn't work out. He felt like he was playing out of position and it wasn't a good fit. So he chose, instead of transferring to another 4-year school, going to a junior college and reinventing himself. That's his line. And we fell in love with his personality, with his work ethic. And when we brought him on a visit, Coach Rupp and I went down and saw a practice, so we got our eyes on him as well. And then we just, we fell in love with the young man, with his approach, the fact that he had learned his lesson and taken his lumps. And we could see, and the one thing I had to keep asking myself, is it too good to be true? Before our first breakfast on his visit, he had already been into the practice facility. I don't know how he got in there, and he's got up, several hundred shots. And it wasn't to try to, I think, an act to make us, fall in love with him. It's just his coach says he does that every day. So adding a player like that and with that sort of personality and character, I think is really going to bode well. And it fits well into the recruiting puzzle we were looking to put together. It
is an interesting journey. Delray Beach, Florida to Tulsa, City College of San Francisco, and now to Oregon State. But in terms of reinventing himself, as you say, so what does he do as a player in that process? If he's in here shooting in this facility 300 shots in before breakfast, that's pretty cool. Does he shoot it well? What are his skills? What does he bring?
Well, he's a legit 6'8", and the neat thing is I think he can play multiple positions offensively, but he can guard multiple positions defensively. Very long, good athlete, above average athlete, really handles the ball well for his size. I mean, he gets down lower than most point guards. Is a good shot maker from 15 and in. He can shoot it. He's got to work on, moving beyond the arc. He can pass. He's a willing passer again. Great teammate. We went to practice and he's patting guys on the butt if they miss a pass, encouraging guys, winning every sprint, going hard in the drills. And he does that daily, not just because we were there. We feel like he's a guy that we can let push the ball on a defensive rebound, knowing that he'll handle it just fine and make the right decision. I think with his size, we can post him up, whether he's a wing or a post. You know, he can be a guy that can get involved in pick and roll with the ball in his hands because he's a great decision maker. And I think his versatility is going to be a real strength of ours. And we bring in, you know, after losing the kids we lose this year, an experienced veteran college player with great maturity that we know is a good teammate and will help lead these guys.
Well, Coach, it's clearly an exciting and compelling class. It adds wonderfully to what you did with last year's class, but this one may not be fully complete. You touched on that earlier, but again, maybe help us to understand what some of your thinking might be in kind of rounding this one out.
Sure. Well, if you add the 6 freshmen from a year ago and then our first 2 commitments this year, our first 8 commits were high school players. And then with Keondre being our first junior college player. You look ahead to 2017, we've just got Shea and Malcolm that will be graduating. Those scholarships would be available. 2017's looking to be a very good year for us with the recruits that we're involved with. So it would be nice to have 1 more scholarship in that group, to have 3. So with the 2 remaining scholarships, we may put 1 in the bank for the 2017 class. And the one that we have available is going to go to the best player that we feel fits our need. I think losing Jarmal, Langston, and Gary, we may look to get another wing type player, and we may look to get another junior college player just to fit into that class, so that in 2018 we have 2 more to give. Right now we don't have anybody in that class. So Keandre and the next recruit that we hope to get would give us those 2 scholarships for 2018. Now, it could very well be a high school player. You know, if we don't feel like we've got the right fit out of a junior college player, then, you know, we'll take the next best player. That may be this fall, but we may take our time and make that 4th sign in the spring of this year.
And finally, just in terms of the excitement for this second year now, with the class from last year, the returning players just working hard, and a lot of anticipation for the season. As the head coach of this group, delighted to coach them day in and day out. What are some of your thoughts about your second season about to unfold?
Well, we're very excited. This really feels like year 1. You know, last year was kind of a throw together. Let's lay the foundation, which is very important. But now we've got our 16 guys. We've got a recruiting class, you know, under our belt in here. And so this feels like kind of we're going to set the tone for how we're going to move forward. A little apprehensive right now with the injuries that we've gone through. You know, we're not going to have probably 3 or maybe 4 of our returning 7 guys out tomorrow night, but it gives opportunity to the young guys. So we've got to remain patient. We say it in every staff meeting. We're playing a lot of young guys. Our vets, a lot of them are banged up right now. Let's be patient with these young guys all the while not being easy on them. You know, we'd like to throw a little adversity at them early to see if they can handle it and help, I think, develop a little bit of toughness. But it's going to be fun. And if we can bring these guys through on the other end, the young guys I'm talking about, improve our leadership from our older group and get healthy, then I think it will only help us that much more come conference play.